Once upon a time, the world was very boring. And then came rock and roll. From the beginning, rock and roll and fashion were the best of friends. In the 1950s, Elvis would invent the rockabilly look that the Stray Cats would pick up on later. Gene Vincent had his black leathers. He'd influenced the Doors in the 60s. When performers give everything on stage, they are communicating through their music, their moves, their clothes, and their hair. It's all communication from the heart to the soul. And the teenagers just loved it. A dance craze called the twist would turn the crazy 1950s into the even crazier 1960s.
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you.
It would all come together for the British invasion of 1964. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to let the boys have all the fun. Why couldn't girls rock too? Look at me. Aren't I gorgeous? That's us, Goldie and the Gingerbreads. We were the first all-girl band to play rock and roll. I know you think I invented that beehive hairdo, but I was just following the look of the great girl groups, the singing groups that came before us. The Chantels were first. But the Shirelles had the first girl group #1 hit. The early 60s gave us the Crystals, the Ronettes, the Chiffons. The first lady of British invasion, Dusty Springfield. And the Supremes would become known for their clothing, also as much as their music. And the coolest of cool, the Shangri-Las. Nancy Sinatra would close out the first half of the 60s by introducing women's liberation with her go-go boots and miniskirts.
Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet.
By the mid-60s, fashion began to change. Sonny and Cher introduced the hippie look. And the Mamas and the Papas would introduce Mama Cass, who made it cool to be full-figured and proud of it. And Aretha Franklin, Queen of Soul, had no problem with that either. Grace Slick with Jefferson Airplane combined the Western look with the hippie look as the psychedelic era began. And Janis Joplin would combine the 1920s with a rock and roll gypsy look with her feather boas and velvet dresses and beads. In the 1970s, rock would separate into many different kinds of rock, never to be unified again. Then would be garage rock, like the Pretenders.
As man and woman.
Harder rock, like Heart. At the same time, folk rock and singer-songwriter artists like Joni Mitchell and Judy Collins. In the end of 1970, we had Joan Jett's first group, the Runaways, representing punk. And Debbie Harry in Blondie, celebrating movie star Marilyn Monroe. The 70s went pretty far out. So the 80s would start to look back to the 60s with the Go-Go's and the Bangles. And the 90s started all over again with Meg White from the White Stripes, Shirley Manson from Garbage, Karen O from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Pink, and a couple of rock and roll daughters. We don't know where rock and roll will take fashion next. Duffy? Amy? The Donnas? Well, maybe we'll find out tonight.